Well, for more on the latest from the US presidential campaign, I'm joined by our international affairs editor, Kethevane Gorjestani. Kethevane, talk us through then what Kamala Harris is trying to achieve by going on Fox News.
Well, first of all, she wanted to prove to her critics that she could go on a non-friendly outlet and a non-friendly journalist and do a hard-hitting interview and not just go on those sort of friendly podcasts. But the main goal really is going after groups of voters that she believes can still be persuaded to vote for her rather than Donald Trump. And in this case, of course, we're talking about some of those moderate Republicans or conservative-leaning independents who are uncomfortable with Donald Trump and who could potentially turn to Kamala Harris. And this is sort of one more example in the past couple of weeks of her trying to court those conservative voters. You had that campaign rally with Liz Cheney, who's a figure of the Republican Party, but a figure of the never-Trumper part of the Republican Party. And that was done in the sort of birthplace of the Republican Party, Ripon, Wisconsin. She had several rallies, including one right before she taped that interview on Fox News, rallies that are called Country Over Party, where she was joined by several former or current Republican officials who have come out publicly to endorse her. She has also said that she would be appointing a Republican in her cabinet, and she would have a bipartisan council of advisors if she makes it to the White House. And the message for this group of voters is the message about Donald Trump being a threat to democracy and how a second term for Donald Trump would be even more dangerous for the United States than his first term. But they are not the only group of voters that she is currently courting. Another group where she is struggling is men, specifically men of color. And that is why you've seen her go on podcasts that are aimed at this demographic. There was the Howard Stern Show, All the Smoke, which is a basketball podcast, and more recently, Charlemagne the God, that has a very male audience. All of this, when you take all these demographics that she's trying to court, she's really trying to replicate the broad coalition that brought Joe Biden to the White House back in 2020.
And what about Donald Trump? Is he following the same strategy here?
There is some sort of a similar pattern if you look at the past few days and the groups of voters that he's been trying to court. There was this town hall on Univision, which is the largest Spanish-speaking outlet in the United States, a town hall with Latino voters where there were, of course, a lot of questions about immigration because Donald Trump is having a little bit of an issue. Even though he's doing better with Latinos, he's still pretty much behind Kamala Harris. And that is because certain aspects of his policies and of his comments on immigration do actually work with a lot of the Latino voters who are in the United States, sometimes since generations, sometimes a new arrival. But his incendiary comments about immigrants have also alienated part of the Latino voters. So he has this balance to strike there. He also courted another group with another town hall, also on Fox News. This time he was talking to female voters. There's a lot of talk about this election being the election with the largest gender gap in the history of U.S. elections because Kamala Harris is way ahead when it comes to female voters. And it's not surprising that Donald Trump chose Georgia to tape that town hall with women, because in Georgia, Kamala Harris has a 10-point lead, Georgia being a swing state, a battleground state, and Donald Trump knows that he is trailing her with the female vote. A lot has to do with questions of his position on abortion and on reproductive rights as a whole. So he's trying to do that there. But for all these strategies, both from Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, to try to persuade these small groups of voters in a very tight race, the race hasn't really changed that much. It is still razor thin, and really the last 3 weeks are going to be all about trying to get those few thousand votes here and there in those 7 battleground states, because that's probably where the election is going to be decided.
All right, and we'll be following those last few weeks, obviously, on France 24. Thank you very much, Kethevane Gorjestani, for that.